Hi, Shulamit. Hmm. Just trying. How's my sound? I'm just having a hard time getting my video, everything set up the way I like it. Okay, I think we got it. No problem.
Enjoy your purple tea, the Tavon.
Thank you. I guess everyone's running late. We had 12 people register to say they're coming, so we'll give everybody a minute and we'll get started. I'm glad that you're here.
I'm here.
And
Yeah, technically, I'm not supposed to be here because I was supposed to have a client, but I overran. So I had to put my client off, and then I was like, oh, I can actually make
yay,
it to the class. But I have to quickly dry my hair and I'll hop back on. I'll just mute myself.
no problem. Sounds good. Mm-mm. Okay. Yay, there we go. Okay, we're going to get started in just a second. Today, we're going to talk about getting unstuck on Shabbat and leaning into habit change in order to have a more fulfilled, happier, healthier, and more meaningful lifestyle, especially around Shabbat. And that means we're going to discuss habits. We're going to discuss the role that food plays where you have social and spiritual throughout the entire Shabbat experience. And I'm really excited to do this because this is one of my specialties. I have an entire course called the Shabbat Ideal Way Blueprint, and it's about finding that ideal aligned space where you're not dieting all the time, you're eating healthy, you're feeling good, you're role modeling healthy habits, and you're also enjoying, you're not deprived, you're not being excessively disciplined. And so I'm taking for you guys here as an intro to that entire course that I teach and really going through the basics of why your environment and your habits are so important to how you enjoy Shabbos, and also why this is actually something that's very simple to break down into small, doable steps that are going to give you greater quality of life, make you feel more flowing and at ease in your family and in your Shabbat experience, and especially in your body, where you feel good going into Shabbat and Chagim. So I want to throw in here just a little bit of Purim Torah because I'm teaching this class. We're only a few weeks out from Purim, and Purim is all about food and all about partying. And the very huge difference between the parties at the beginning of the story that were all about the physicality of it. I mean, it goes into excessive detail about the flooring and about the draperies and crazy, crazy detail in all of the learnings around Purim about how physical and materialistic these parties were. And then you have Esther's parties where this transition of materialism, but with a social and spiritual purpose. And then at the end, where we celebrate our victory, our life, our triumph with food and a party, but it's where spirituality wins. It's the fact that we are alive and our soul and all of that was the winner. And it's about giving to the poor. And it's about this greater contribution that we make. And that's kind of the journey we're going to go on Shabbat today together. We're going to start from this place of, hey, things are like material. Shachlis, how are we going to prep for Shabbos? How are we going to cook for Shabbos? How is everyone going to be happy with the food that we're making? How are we going to feel not lethargic, not overstuffed, but satisfied and joyful and not overworked or too complicated, but we can have guests, right? All the things that we want while we look and feel amazing in our clothes and we cherish our body and our body is like a garden, right? You don't always see all the results the first day you plant the seeds, but the more that you consistently cultivate and care for that garden, even when you're not seeing results on the outside, everything is growing underneath and everything is healthy and everything is good. So that's the attitude we're going to take into this Shabbat class experience. Common questions we are going to be answering. Kiddush, breakfast, Motzei Shabbos cravings, pizza, going out, when there's going out to eat, when everybody else is maybe not in control of the food that's being presented to you, etc. Very common stumbling blocks like, but I have to wash at every single meal on Shabbos. How can I do that and still feel good and still look good and have all the things? So with all that in mind, I'm really excited for us to get started. And as I can see people are coming in, thank you for muting. And I will pause and allow everyone to have a chance to ask questions. And I highly recommend that you take notes while we are going through this class. So if you are watching with us live, I pinned my video, or you are watching with us through the recording that you registered for, welcome. I'm really excited to share this experience with you. Make sure you have water, a cup of tea, pencil, paper, and a positive attitude. Okay, let's get started. We're going to start with the definition. I really love language. I think it helps us to put into context, the feelings that we have around food, the feelings that we have around Shabbos, the feelings that we have around our family. And I'm a mother of 5, and I have to tell you that when my kids were little, Shabbos felt not like a day of rest. It felt like a day of tremendous stress. The kids are all over the place. There was constant messes, entertaining them. I was tired. There was the cleaning up for meals. There was hosting friends. There was the kids' friends' messes. Trying to get a nap. My husband having to get a nap. Who gets to nap? So then some, marital conflict. And of course, there were snacks and food throughout the entire process. And in our first years of marriage, it was a really slow process to go from, a whole dessert course and way overcooking and over making food to enjoying the time I had with my kids, feeling less pressured, less stress, confronting the different marital challenges that we were having. And the perfect one is just, I have to tell you a story about Kiddush. Kiddush in my house, when we all sit down to the table, and you want it to be this like epic, spiritual, amazing moment. And all my kids have ADHD and they're nudging each other and they can't sit still for 1 minute and they're laughing and this one's pointing and this one's pushing and this one's crying. And my husband was getting more and more upset. And he just wants everyone to stand up and be quiet so we can have this Kiddush experience. And I remember the day that I went from getting more and more and more upset and hooked into, it shouldn't be like this, it shouldn't be like this, it shouldn't be like this, to just sitting down, smiling and laughing at my husband and being like, guess what? They're rambunctious, fun kids. Let's just start singing it together. Look me in the eyes. And we're going to have kiddush together, they're going to hear what they're going to hear. They're not going to hear what they're going to hear. I think we're 13 years later, and still, even when they're older and the 19-year-old elbows the 18-year-old or gives someone a tickle or he's picking up my 8-year-old and it's still noisy, the peace and the calm that I feel inside and that he feels inside when we make eye contact and we're like, okay, we're in this together, it changes everything. And so after the original kind of kiddush experience, I was really, my nervous system was quite triggered, and I would eat 2 or 3 slices of challah easily. And then even if I was eating a healthy meal, I'd done all the preparation to prepare for a healthy meal. I was already 3 slices of challah in before the food even started at the table. And then that feeling of having blown it, that feeling of also already being too full, wanting to eat the food, and then why not dessert? And then eating another piece of challah because now I have bedtime, and just being in a negative spiral versus the same challah being there and being really focused on, okay, I have lots of vegetables on the table. My husband hands me a bite of challah, and then we give out the challah, and then we move it to the buffet where the food is going to be served, and on the table are the dips, our big plates of vegetables, a big salad, and on the side of the buffet is the challah. We pass it around again if anybody wants, and it goes back to the buffet where everything else will be served. And we just go through much less challah. The kids, there's no more arguing with the kids about, hey, stop eating challah, like food is coming. And it just eased the whole process. So how did that happen? Well, number one, I realized the food isn't the problem. The food isn't the problem on Shabbos. You have to be prepared. You have to have a plan, but you also have to look at the family interpersonal dynamics, and you have to look at what your spiritual intention is for this part of the day. So with that in mind, Shabbos actually starts on Thursday when we are making our plan to get ready for Shabbos. So when we're making our plan to get ready for Shabbos, I have a really easy menu planning tip for you guys, okay? And this is very easy to execute. It will increase the probability that everyone in your house is going to eat healthier. If you take nothing else away from today and you implement this one tip, you're going to have a over time increase and increasingly better health on Shabbos. And it's when you make your menu plan, for every protein, there should be one vegetable dish, whether it's a salad, whether it's cut vegetables, whether it's a type of roasted vegetable. For every carb, including the challah on the table, you should have 2 vegetables. So for example, if you made beautiful platter of chicken, then you'd have chicken and maybe broccoli. And then if you made fluffy Persian rice, then you'd have maybe an Israeli salad and a cabbage salad. And most healthy families, whether they're conscious of it or not, follow this proportion when they're menu planning. If you're going to have a dessert, then I would suggest again we had broccoli, maybe an Israeli salad, maybe cabbage salad, maybe also a lettuce salad. Okay, so now we had 2 carbs, we have 3 salads, we have, right? Now let's say you're going to have challah. So when you're serving the challah, instead of just having hummus and trina, have also some roasted eggplant to use. Have also just some cut of vegetables. You could just do some cut of cucumbers. Oh, okay, maybe you're going to have, you need to get an extra vegetable and have cucumbers and a bowl of cut up peppers. When you're roasting vegetables, a lot of times we like to roast 7 vegetables together. Separate them out. Make enough of each one and add a little bit of a different seasoning, and all of a sudden you have another vegetable dish. So that when people are taking food onto their plates, they are going to take less of the higher fat, higher carb dishes, and they're going to be taking more vegetable dishes, which is ultimately going to leave them with better blood sugar, better cholesterol, better health, better weight maintenance, And basically every single thing that you guys wanted at the beginning, done in that menu plan. But of course, we know no matter how great and healthy your menu was, remember that story? If I got all emotionally churned up because of the kids, then I wasn't going to implement it. I was going to overeat emotionally. I was going to, not, I would be upserving and maybe not sit down and eat a proper meal and plate of food and be mindful. So now we got to talk about the interpersonal dynamics. When I teach my Ideal Weight Blueprint, my Shabbat course, so it's 12 weeks, and we devote 2 weeks to entertaining, okay? Because entertaining is really a skill. It's a skill to be the guest, and it's also a skill to be the host, where you're focused on the other person. You're focused on making it lovely for them. So whether you're the guest or the host, that starts with being a good conversationalist, working on your social skills. So much Shabbat eating from clients. I worked with dozens of Jewish women who struggle with their eating on Shabbat because they struggle with their social skills. They feel uncomfortable in social situations, or they don't always know what to say, or they feel uncomfortable at the table, and they don't always feel okay to maybe get up and check on the kids or give themselves a break. Maybe their husband is more social than they are, and they find themselves overeating to have something to do, to feel a part without having to be vulnerable or share or know how to talk to other people. And so when you're thinking about your Shabbat experience and your skills, instead of reading more and more and more cookbooks on how you need a new appetizer and a new soup, and wow, what's the next trendy thing for the Shabbat table, ask yourself, what can I do to improve my conversational skills? What can I do to, learn a little bit more about law of attraction? How can I learn to be more sincere and look for the good and give better compliments that are really meaningful to someone else? How can I know how to bring up current events or something about the spiritual Torah portion or something I've read or an article or show in a way that creates more conversation, creates more engagement? These are really skills that make you a better guest and a better host and light people up around you, no matter what you're eating and no matter what you're serving. The other area that we talked about is spirituality. And no matter how observant you are currently, there's always room to improve our spirituality. What does that mean? Shabbat is an invitation to the most exclusive, intimate, fantastic, 8-star personal retreat with God. And he's invited your best friends, your family, your community to that dinner. Okay? It is about beautiful, intimate connection, about being with someone who loves you, who's giving you life, who's sustaining your body, who's giving you energy for the week, who's giving you the home that you have, who's giving you the money that you have to buy the food, who's giving you the work that you had that brings in the money, right? Who's giving you these beautiful children, who's made sure that you were lucky enough to get married. That God is who you're spending Shabbat with. And when, as women, we get too busy in the cleaning up and the hosting and the cutting the salad and the washing the dishes and the serving the food and, putting it away and making sure the kids get to their, activity properly and that this one does his Parsha thing that the teacher sent home from school, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We can go through all those things and we can be completely ignorant of God's presence, or we can go through each and every single one of those things like we are at that 8-star most amazing party in the world. And we've invited all these people. These are the blessings we ask for. We want to have these guests. We want to have this husband. We want to have these children, these actual children in front of us. We want to have this spouse. We want to be invited to this person's house. And that is the blessing. The blessing is in the work. So no, it's annoying if the food got a little burned on the plata, and it's annoying when, they're late coming home from shul, or you don't know where they are, or this kiddish, or someone says something to you where the kids break something and these two are fighting. But when we come at it with some empathy, and we come at it with some humor, some lightness, and we see God and the blessings that we have, and we cultivate that attitude of gratitude and appreciation, you're going to see that your appetite to overeat diminishes. Your appetite to overeat diminishes. Not only that, but as your cortisol goes down, it allows your metabolism to increase, and you're going to digest and enjoy that food that you're eating on Shabbos physically, emotionally, spiritually, in a completely different way. So we started with our menu plan. We've come to Kiddush and kind of that mindset of how we're going to go about Shabbat. We're going to take a minute, and I'm just going to check the chat if there's any questions. Okay. So,
Actually, Lily, I'm about to hop off.
please.
But I will pop in a question for the benefit of anyone who's like me, who's not married and on their own. And
Absolutely.
often find myself Shabbat completely on my own. And that's quite triggering actually sometimes. And there are times actually when I go out and it's worse. You feel the aloneness more because you're sitting around everybody in their happy families, and then you have to go back home on your own in the dark, especially in England.
Absolutely.
So all those things add up to sort of like the little triggers that make you end up going for the challah, which is, and then the other part of that is I'm like you, quite spiritual, and I actually enjoy the connection with God and sitting and davening with him and having that peace. But then at the end of the day, it's not really what I want. Not that I don't want a connection with God, but ultimately it's not like the happy families thing, and I'm sure that a lot of people like me, whether on this group or going to listen to the recording. So I just want you to be aware that there might be other dynamics going on as well.
I really appreciate that. And I think if you can, stay to listen to the answer, there's no easy answer. We were just learning the Shar Bitachon together even, and he talks about all the benefits of being in a relationship and the challenges. So let's say we've just handled those. Then there's the benefits and challenges of not being in a relationship, right? There's the benefits of finding things that are maybe communal.
Oh, you're giving me spoilers. I'm not up to there yet. I didn't catch up with you guys. I'm still at the wealth part.
So he talks about, all of the benefits of being single. You don't have to spend money on other people. You don't have to take care of other people. You can make whatever you want to eat. You don't have to worry about what the kids want to eat or what your husband likes. And you don't have to worry about, that making sure the house is exactly to someone else's standards, et cetera, et cetera.
This is true. This is definitely true. And I'm enjoying that for sure.
And so there's hard things about being single on Shabbos, but there's also, traveling and trying out Shabbos in, dozens of different locations and getting to know different families and, being the best aunt to different people's kids that you get to leave and then go take your nap. And there's just this concept, which again, I'm saying with the most gentleness, because like the same way, to the mother who was me in the past, who was like overwhelmed and dying, to be like, hey, there's a point where you'll actually enjoy these toddlers. To say to the single person, when you're in that difficult mindset, there's nothing, just hugs. Just give yourself hugs. It's okay. It'll flow. But when you're ready and you're open and you're able to ground yourself and go into all the things that you do have access to do, because you don't have any of these other things to consider, you can consider, like, do I want to do something special with the food that I'm making? Do I want to, make sure that I'm being the one who's inviting guests, or I'm the one who gets to experience different kinds of Shabbatot? I have a good friend who I'm thinking of right now, and she has like a whole picnic in the park that she does for her Shabbat. She's single and she does a picnic in the park. She takes her book, she takes a bottle of wine, she makes a salad, she goes to the park and she chills. Like I would never get to do that. Everyone else needs me and I need to spend time with everybody else because that's the only time we're off. There's also the ability to go on singles retreat and spend that time when you're not working, looking for the person who you want to spend the rest of your life with and developing those kind of relationships and those kind of girlfriend relationships that all take effort that we don't always have time for during the week. And Shabbat can be a great time to invest in whatever we need to for the stage of the life that we're in. My father's single now. I lost my mother. My father's single now. And one of the things, he actually has a girlfriend and and he met her on a Shabbos. I mean, she was an old girlfriend he knew from high school 80 years ago. They're both in their 80s now. So I don't know, 70 years ago, but that's crazy. So I think
love that. That's just gorgeous. I'm going to hop on later. I have to fly. I've got a client.
Okay.
But thanks, Lily, and I'll watch the recording if that's okay.
Of course, that's what it's here for. Okay. So first of all, thanks so much to Shulamit who brought it up. And it's also a perfect example of what we're trying to cultivate here, which is our mindset of growth and our Shabbos experience. So whether you have a whole family you're taking care of, or maybe your kids are grown and they're married, this is also a perfect example. Okay. For many of you listening to this call, I know some of you, and you guys have married children that come for Shabbat. And there's all of those wonderful family dynamics. You want to make your daughter-in-law's favorite food or your son's favorite food, but there's all the dynamics with that new person coming into the house and being stressed and being on your best behavior and wanting everyone to get along and maybe being happy or unhappy with how they're raising their kids or how they're talking to each other or how they clean up or whatever. All of that stuff is that family dynamics that can either stress us out, and then the second we get hijacked by negative emotions and judgment, we stop being able to be mindful. And the second best tip I can give you from the bottom of my heart and from my own personal experience is the second you notice yourself hijacked, maybe your heart is racing, maybe your cheeks are warm, maybe your thoughts are spinning and out of control. This one, this thought, judgment. Just drop the fork. Drop the fork. If you're even in the middle of the meal, you can clear your place. You can put your fork and knife on top of the plate, sit back from the table, get a glass of water. But getting hijacked by those negative emotions on Shabbos, whether it's because of a family dynamic or we talked about a single dynamic, in the end, it's all the same thing. The more that we get hijacked from negative emotions and are around food, the more we're not going to be mindful. So how can we stop that negative pattern? Because then we start eating, then we start feeling guilt and shame, then we feel overstuffed, then we feel low energy, then we definitely don't feel better and ready to confront whatever family dynamics are going to need to be adjusted or work on ourselves. So how do we overcome this? Number one, practical environmental recommendation, right? First, we have to be practical. Use a buffet whenever possible. Set up a folding table. If you're playing games Shabbat afternoon, don't put the food next to the games. Put the food on a side table. Get a buffet, get a card table, figure out your kitchen counters. It'll be motivation to get them cleaned off. Allow people to get up and go serve themselves from the food and come back. I know this might be a totally different dynamic to what you've been used to or what you grew up with, but it can be life-saving if there's a time or season in your family or for yourself where there's a lot of emotional stuff going on. Even if it's not sad stuff, even if it's a party and everyone's happy and we're hijacked by the simcha of the moment. It's not elevated eating if we're not mindful. And so grabbing handfuls of popcorn at a party and a few chocolates here and filling up another piece of cake because I'm not really paying attention because I'm so full of joy is also not going to be a recipe for feeling our best, having our best health, being in the best energy, and at the end of Shabbos, being happy with that experience. When the food is away from the table, okay, think about the fanciest restaurants. They bring you very small portions, right? And they expect you to spend most of your time not eating, but conversing, right? They have 1 glass of wine, 2 glasses of wine. It's going to last you for like a 3-hour meal, right? A waiter comes and removes your plate the second it looks like you're done eating so that there's no distractions to the conversation. Now, very often as women, we're the ones clearing, we're the ones, bringing food to the table. The more that this can be spread out among your children, awesome. But it really, again, to each person is different. Each person has a different family dynamics. One of the best ways to make sure that you get a chance to sit down and enjoy your guests, and so do your kids, is to serve all the food at once on a buffet at each course. If you're doing multiple courses, I've even done on a long buffet, the first course and the main course at the same time, but separated, because sometimes you have people who really, don't want the first course and want to hop straight into the main. It's also a really great system. You can play with it depending on how many guests you have. So it's practical. Again, if you just do the practical tips from this class, you will have completely transformed your little stumbling blocks with food on Shabbos. Number 1 was the meal plan we talked about at the beginning. Number 2 was remembering to focus on what's the emotional state going on. Drop the fork if I'm really not paying attention to eating right now. And number 3, keep the food off the table, including the challah, whenever possible. If you feel that you need to have just the dips on the table, then make sure if you have challah that you have 2 vegetables. So it can be a vegetable platter to eat with the dips, and Israeli salad or cabbage salad or a lettuce salad, something else, so that you can taste everything without having 2-3 slices of challah while everyone's sitting down and having a good time. So we said for each element, there's something very practical strategy, then we have a social strategy, and then we have a spiritual strategy. So when it comes to sitting at these very long meals and all the complicated family dynamics, one of the most important things that we can be doing to ground ourselves emotionally and socially into the conversation is practicing good listening skills. And that means really hearing the other person, hearing their tone, hearing their body language. Someone could be giving a talk about politics or his week or, the Torah portion of the week. And what he's really could be saying is, I'm sad. It could be saying I'm having a hard time. It could be saying I'm really frustrated. It could be saying I'm fearful. It could be saying, look, I'm really curious. This is really interesting. I'm really engaged. Like, there's so many things he could be telling you in the tone of voice and how he's speaking. And the more that you pay attention to the whole person, as well as the content, you're going to be thinking less about what you think about what he's saying or what shirt he's wearing or whatever else. And then when he's done speaking, you're going to be able to engage. And again, it's going to satisfy something inside you that is going to and is psychologically proven to reduce your portion size automatically without being deprived, without having to measure your food, because you're going to be satisfying all your senses, your emotional, your neurological, all of you. Okay? And now we're going to talk about that spiritual element. And the spiritual element of a beautiful meal is to truly increase our gratitude. And to remember, even if you're like me, then you did most of the cooking, or maybe you're like 2 of my best friends whose husbands do most of the cooking, or you're single and you've cooked this beautiful meal for yourself. Maybe you're the one who had to work for it and you're the one who had to buy the groceries. At the end of the day, all of it is a gift from God. And hopefully it was mostly prepared before Shabbos, and you're sitting down and you have the ability to chew that food, and you have the ability to swallow that food, and your body has the ability to digest that food. And for anybody who's had digestive issues in the past, go back to that moment when you had a stomach bug, or God forbid you have IBS or gas issues, or one of your children has, I have 3 kids with celiac. I'm very grateful. I do not often eat bread because I'm definitely a little sensitive, but whenever I eat stuff with gluten, whether it's my favorite cracker or a slice of bread or a cookie, I am very grateful that I don't have celiac. I really am. And, when you meet someone who has a strawberry allergy, that one of my best friends does, I love strawberries. Really, it would be something missing in my life if I couldn't eat strawberries. There are things that we take for granted every day when it comes to our physical body. And the whole point of slowing down these meals is sitting and feeling the texture of the food, enjoying the food. And it doesn't mean you have to be like zenning out the entire meal, but 2 to 3 seconds of just, wow, this is pretty amazing. This tastes delicious. I'm so grateful I have the opportunity. I know how to cook it, or someone prepared it for me. This is really nice. This is really nice. Okay. We are coming up to the 40-minute mark, and I want to make sure that we have time to close off with Motzei Shabbos. I could talk about Shabbat for 12 weeks. I do in my 12-week course, the Ideal Weight Shabbat Blueprint, where we go through 6 different modules for 2 weeks each, and we dig into entertaining, we dig into habit formation, we dig into planning and preparing before Shabbos, we dig into what should your plate look like for ideal nutrition, energy, nourishment, in general. We dig into Chagim and holidays coming up and how to manage those and navigate those. And of course, we dig into people pleasing and those interfamily dynamics. And we have marriage coach that comes in, and we have a parenting coach that comes in and does some guest spots on those topics. So I want to end tonight with talking about Motzei Shabbat. And Motzei Shabbat starts with Havdalah. So again, no matter how observant you are, I highly recommend, whether you already do a Havdalah, a service to end the Shabbat, or you don't, it's really a beautiful, important marking. The same way we, mark the start of something amazing, we mark the closing of something amazing. And many people eat again after Shabbat, depending on winter, summer, etc. Right? A lot of people like to go out Saturday night and see friends, do activities, run errands, veg out, whatever it's going to be. Take a minute and help yourself to transition. Do 2 weeks on just the art of letting yourself transition, because it's really one of the places we get most stuck. Is we're in this whole Shabbos mindset and we're chilling, and all of a sudden there's the dishes to wash and maybe the floor to wash again, and putting everything back in its place. Or maybe you want to get a workout in or a walk, and you have to get ready for the week to come, or you have to get your plans ready for Sunday, or you napped on Shabbat and you stay up too late Saturday night. When it comes to food, after Shabbat is over, we want to be gentle with ourselves, and we want to eat very lightly, if at all. If you really believe in eating after Shabbat, because some people have the custom of having a transitional meal, traditionally it should be something very light, be it a small slice of high fiber bread if you believe that you need to wash and have bread, with some tuna and a few vegetables, an omelet and some salad. Think of it as a very light meal. I have a client who lost 50 pounds, and her Saturday night meal became a yogurt with some berries and some Greek yogurt, berry slivered almonds. For her entire 50-pound weight loss, that became her Saturday night custom. Even if they went out afterwards to a movie or somewhere else, she didn't have popcorn, she didn't have wine, she didn't have anything else Saturday night, that was her Saturday night custom. For me, not so much. I do really like to go out Saturday night, but I make sure to keep it really light. If we're going out and maybe all I want is a treat, all I want is a glass of wine or a single, scoop of gelato, but I'm going to keep it light, maybe share it with my husband, or have some light vegetables and an omelet, something light Saturday night, because we want to transition. We don't want to be weighed down going into the following week. Again, we're starting with very practical. Take that tip, walk away. Don't care about the social and spiritual aspects. But if you want to be able to actually facilitate the change that you want, the calm that you want, the lower cortisol levels, so that all the practical things that you do have greater results, then we got to talk about the social aspects of Motzei Shabbos. You got to figure out with your family, what are the rules and boundaries around cleanup Motzei Shabbos? When are you looking at your phone or looking at the news Motzei Shabbos? Are you scheduling your week? Try to plan out and make a ritual around you and what's important for you going into Sunday, going into the week. And I've seen a lot with the clients I've worked with over the years. I've seen people who take a hot bath, people who the whole family cleans up together, see people where the woman, she puts on her headphones, her workout clothes, she finishes cleaning up and she is out for her walk with her friends and makes sure she has friend time Saturday night. My husband and I, we like to cuddle up on the couch and watch a movie, and lock the kids out of our space and just have alone time after all that family time before we go our separate ways. It feels like sometimes in the hecticness of the week, we need that time together. So no matter whether you're single or in a relationship, that social aspect of Saturday night is as important as eating lightly in order to be full, satisfied, and not deprived, and really enjoy yourself no matter where you are. Lastly, that spiritual aspect. It's a letdown a little bit, always the end of the weekend, the end of the Shabbat, going into errands, going into the week, going into back to work. And it should be. The same way we're always a little sad when vacation ends, it's okay. But a really good vacation should have also left us feeling more rested, more capable, more resilient, maybe open to new opportunities and our creativity instead of being in fight or flight. Maybe we relaxed and all of a sudden we can innovate better in the week and look for a new system or a way to tweak the way our week is going so that by next Shabbos, we actually feel better. We feel like, wow, I've made some progress in some area of my life. So Saturday night, Sunday is a great time to look to meal prep for the coming week. What food do I need for the week to come? Or, do I need to create a little more me time this week? Do I need a little more social interaction this week? Do I need to make some time for prayer or meditation or what nourishes my soul this week? So as we transition out of Shabbos, there's a very important part of saying goodbye to the old, but also bringing a new, invigorated attitude of positivity to the week to come. And knowing that it's a gift and it's going to be better than we can hope for if we allow it to be. Thank you guys so much for being here, whether you are here live with us or whether you are on the recording. And I look forward to continuing this conversation with you. I look forward to hearing your feedback on today's class. And if you want more details on when I will be launching the next Shabbat Ideal Weight Blueprint coaching cohort, it's a 12-week cohort where we go through spiritual, environmental, and social skills you need to be unstuck with your weight, keep your weight off forever, and feel your best in all areas, then please reach out to me. I have some ideas about when it's going to be coming out, more info to come. But this is an important introduction, and I hope that you'll take these tools, run with them, and improve your life today. Shabbat Shalom.